Number 40. Seconds from The Batman. This episode, I sometimes wonder, is too smart for the show it's made for. Like, don't get me wrong, I like The Batman, but I didn't really think any other episodes were going to make this list until I really thought about this one. If you've seen episodes of the show and don't really think it's all that good, you're mostly right. But if I was to recommend anything, I would recommend Season 4. That's when the writing got actually pretty good. It had a few guest writers from stuff like Paul Dini, and even Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill guest voiced in a few episodes. I'm just saying, Season 4 is where it got pretty good. And the best one of that season, I believe, is Seconds. The show seems to start off with one of the worst robberies ever. I mean, you look at this guy and you think, you are the worst criminal I've ever seen. He trips the alarm, then he literally trips over a mop bucket and is easily caught by a regular security guard. However, everything changes when this seemingly stupid, worthless criminal shows us his ability to turn back time.
Alarm on the cabinet, go right in the hall, door is locked, watch the bucket.
What are you talking about?
Whoops. Hold on a minute, cowboy.
He goes right back to the beginning before he made all the mistakes and pulls off the robbery without a hitch. This is such an interesting concept, and I love how they really hit it home with the design of the character, because look at the guy. He looks like a regular, out-of-shape nobody who's, as you can tell by his look, I think he's a little out of touch with the way the world looks nowadays, because, I don't know, that looks very 70s to me. And yet, thanks to his power, he can go toe-to-toe with the world's greatest hand-to-hand combat, because he's cheating. Basically.
Lights out.
Huh? Typical. Let's try this one.
It's been a barrel of laughs, Batman. Oh, that's terrible.
Because all he has to do is memorize your move and then counterattack. So that leaves the question, how do you stop somebody who knows everything you're about to do?
Left hook, right jab, spin kick, flying kick from Batgirl. Left, right, 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 left, right, right, left, right, kick.
That was fun. Thanks for playing.
Even when, after spending enough time with him, Batman starts feeling deja vu and changes up his moves, that really still leaves the fight as a stalemate. You see, this guy who, I don't know if we can call him the Clock King or not, he was never actually confirmed, but I'd like to think he has set up the New Year's Eve ball that when it hits the bottom at 0, it will explode and gas will go all over the place and Gotham will feel his suffering. A little extreme, but okay, we'll roll with it. And so just when it looks like he's won, he's knocked out Robin, he's knocked out Batman, Batgirl comes running up and he knocks down Batgirl, just when it looks like he's won, you find out that Batman sent Batgirl out to find his son and bring his son to their New Year's ball. And some might think that, oh, he brought his son to talk him out of it. Heck no. Batman brought his son there to force him into a no-win scenario. Basically saying, if you win, you will lose your son. I love that. That is such a Batman thing to do. Now, the episode actually does end a little bit too much on a happy note for my taste, which is why it's lower on this list. Because if they had him, surrender himself and disarm the bomb himself and go to jail again, I think this would have made an amazing episode. But no, he, after seeing his son die in front of him because of his own bomb, he just reverses time all the way back to when he first stole a watch. A little convenient, a little cliched, but still, the rest of the episode is insanely strong. It's still an episode with a unique perspective, a unique villain, and basically knows how to make a new character who is both funny, pathetic, and extremely dangerous. You definitely won't be counting the seconds with this one.
Gotham will only understand how precious their time is after it's taken away.
Hello, Batman.
I suppose we've been through all this before.
If it matters, you did catch me off guard. but that only works the first time.
We are the cartoon heroes.
Number 39.
We are the ones who gonna last forever.
The Apprentice, Parts 1 and 2 from the Teen Titans. What can I say? I'm a sucker for season finales, especially when they're done right. In the first part of this episode, it's all about trying to find Slade. The Titans are all over him and trying to find out where he is, because he's about to explode a bomb in the city. So Robin and the team have to hunt him down, but as they get closer and closer, Robin eventually comes to realize that Slade is actually using this whole thing to make Robin his apprentice. After Slade injects all of the other Titans with nanites that can kill him with just a press of a button, he forces Robin to work for him and do whatever he wants.
If you join me, if you swear to serve me, if you never speak to your friends again, I will allow them to live. But if you disobey even the smallest request, I will annihilate them, Robin, and I'll make you watch.
Forcing him to steal for him and fight his own friends. This is a great Robin episode because you really get to see him put through a tough situation. Because working for Slade goes against everything he stood for. And yet, what is he going to do? He has no move. How far do you go to portray your own rules and senses and everything you believe in to protect those you love? Even when one of the things you're asked about is to hurt those you care about.
If you are truly evil, then go ahead. Do what you must.
Starfire, no!
Robin! I gave you an order. If you won't attack, my probes will.
This is also a great episode for Slade because while it's a little cliche for him saying, we're not too far alike, you and I, you kind of believe that this character, if given enough time and manipulation, could actually form Robin into a weapon that he could use. They really show what kind of a strategist he is and how the lengths he will go to and how he just keeps on pushing Robin to do these little things one right after another so he can break his moral code. And the more often he breaks it, the more his psyche breaks it down as it's okay. And we also have this amazing fight scene between Robin and Slade in this like clock tower thing. But it's also good for the rest of the Titans because they now have to deal with the question of how do you fight someone you care about? You know, it's like for Robin, he has to fight them to save them. But for them, it's like, how do we fight someone that we actually don't want to hurt? Do you hold back? And if not, how many chances do you give them before you have to go full force? Are your friendships more important than the laws that you're trying to protect? It's a great battle between a hero, a villain, and the team trying to save him. It's overall just a great episode.
Stop! Please stop!
Attack, Robin. It's the only way to save them. Attack with everything you've got.
Robin!
I'm sorry.
Number 38! Baby Doll from Batman the Animated Series. There are very few episodes of a show that can make you laugh and feel sorry for a villain at the same time. This is definitely one of those episodes. Baby Doll is another one of those creations from Batman the Animated Series. She is this woman that grew up with this disease that kept her from aging on the outside. So she still looks like a kid. She was once the star of a silly family sitcom, but now is just a washed-up actress and is gone mental. And now she's determined to recreate the show with the original cast against their will.
Mary Doll, is this a joke? No, sillies. I'm Baby, member? It's Susie and Tippy and Mumsy and Daddy and Baby together again forever and ever.
This episode, while very silly in some parts, does actually a really good job of getting us into the mindset of our villain. She has a very tragic backstory, and they really go far to make you relate to her and actually feel sorry for her. But I love the way they have her confrontation with Batman, because they're both using their wits to outsmart the other. I mean, for example, she goes to a fairground, and she's like, okay, I'll look just like a regular kid, so she goes and hides under the crowds. Batman can't find her, so what does he do? He lets himself be seen by jumping onto the roof. And of course, all the kids are like, holy crap, I gotta see Batman, so they all come running towards him, except for her. So he spots her, and then they go, what does she do next? She needs to hide, so she goes into a playhouse, so he will have to get onto her level. And that's where the best part of the episode is, where they run into the House of Mirrors, and Batman is chasing her down, and she sees a reflection of what she could have been.
Look. That's me in there. The real me. There I am. But it's not really real, is it? Just made up and pretend like my family and my life and everything else. Why couldn't you just let me make believe?
She sees a grown, beautiful woman that never had to deal with any of the hardships or biases or just outright prejudices that she's had to grow up with. And then when she starts shooting the mirrors with Batman's reflection in them, she pauses on that one image of the image that she knows she can never ever achieve, and just unloads all of her bullets into it. As if just enraged at the life that she never could have. And in that moment, Batman doesn't attack her or body slam her, although that would have been interesting. He just lets her cry and holds her because he sees her as not an evil mastermind, as not a person that needs to be put down, just someone who's been through tragedy and took things too far. And then she says her catchphrase, probably meaning it for the first time in her entire life. You really feel for her, and you really feel Batman does too, because they almost have the opposite tragedies. This is a woman who is forever trapped in her childhood, where Batman was a man that was never able to have one. This episode had everything. Humor, action, and the sadness of knowing that there's one thing that you can never have that everybody else just takes for granted. Even if that one thing is growing up. Number 37. Blind Alley by X-Men Evolution. People who do not watch my channel might be surprised to learn that my favorite X-Men is Cyclops. As a kid, it was because he had laser eyes, and I don't know what it is, but something about lasers just really appealed to me. But as I got older, I just found that he was just the smartest and most strategical out of all the X-Men. I always have a fondness for the leader of the team, because they have to make the harder decisions and have to really think through their scenarios that the other characters don't have to. And the simple fact that he has the hurdle of he's never going to be able to look anyone in the eye, otherwise he could destroy them without his visor. In this episode, we get Mystique looking for some good old revenge on Cyclops, because in a previous episode, she's trying to use the X-Men to do something for her, and in the end, Cyclops just turns right around, calls her bluff, and screws her over. Not literally, but, just says, no, I don't trust you, can't trust you, give me what I want. She says, no, fine. So long, sucker. I always love that episode because it was such a risk. He was taking a risk that a lot of other people might not have done it, but, he just totally did it, and I thought it was so cool. But she escapes and impersonates his brother and lures him to Mexico, where she knocks him out, throws him in the desert somewhere, takes off his shades, and says, "Good luck."
Where am I? Where am I?
This is actually a great revenge. And it's actually pretty diabolical because she brings up that she just plans on doing this over and over again.
Go ahead, open your eyes again. Maybe you'll demolish some family's apartment.
Just get away from me.
What's the matter? You don't like being abandoned?
You've had your fun. Now end this.
Oh no, the fun's just begun. How about we try the North Pole next?
And Scott is in a situation that's worse than anybody else because he can't look around too long because what if there is somebody in front of him? You know, what if he does look and kill somebody? So he has to, like, open his eyes, shoot out, look around, and then close them again and then walk in as far as he can. But the fact that Mystique just wants to do this to him over and over again is you really feel for him because he's put in such a vulnerable situation. I like how even when his eyes are taken away, he's still able to think smart. As when he is fighting Mystique, he's able to shoot out their light source, evening the odds.
What's the matter? Can't you see?
And when she tries to play to his emotions by pretending to be Jean, he doesn't buy it for a second. But still, he's really just deflecting and avoiding, and it isn't until Jean shows up where they're able to both take Mystique down. Because another focus of this episode has been, you know, Scott and Jean acknowledging to themselves that they like each other and trying to both figure a way to say it to the other. And when Scott is in danger, she is able to sense him from a country away. Even the professor isn't able to do that. And at the end of the episode, they decide to move forward as a couple. You know what one of the best things about X-Men Evolution was? Jean was a teenager and Logan was an adult, so there was no stupid love triangle. I love episodes where the odds are just stacked against them, and yet they're able to use their wits and their will to make it through. A great episode of overcoming all the things in your way, even if you can't see them.
How sweet. Girlfriend to the rescue.
You got that right, lady.
Number 36. Group Therapy from Spectacular Spider-Man. Where do I begin? Because this episode has so many things happening at once. It starts with Doc Ock, Electro, the Vulture, Sandman, Rhino, and the Shocker breaking free from prison. Huh. Why, that is 6, isn't it? And surprisingly, Peter goes throughout his entire day without reading or hearing about it. It's very funny because in the episode he just misses it. It's just on the TV and then Aunt May changes the channel. It's on the paper that he just doesn't read. And so when they all confront him, he is legitimately surprised about it. But to be fair, he has a good reason to be distracted because he is wearing a new suit made out of this substance that came from space. Oh, and it's black. Yeah, it's a black suit. And so he's wearing an alien suit, he's ambushed by the Sinister Six, and if that wasn't bad enough, Aunt May had a heart attack. That's a lot to take on for a high schooler. I love this episode because, for one thing, the interaction with the villains are just great. Electro has seen a mentor-mentee relationship with Doc Ock. Rhino and Sandman now working together but with superpowers. And Shocker is, you know, he sees himself more as a professional where these guys are just rank amateurs. And Vulture is just, you know, a crotchety old dude. But I like how they show these villains have adapted and now they make sure that they're not going to be able to be taken out the same way Spider-Man has taken them out before.
Oh, fool! This dog's not too old to learn your tricks.
Doc Ock is my favorite Spider-Man baddie, and they go all the way with him, and I love how he has this such classic calm demeanor, but very, you know, intimidating the way he goes about his villainous ways.
Yes, gentlemen. And Rhino, we're frustrated, but the arachnid will be crushed.
How? He's long gone.
We simply engineer a situation that forces Spider-Man to play the hero. He'll come. He can't help himself. Check, please.
On the house, sir?
How kind of you. And wise.
I mean, because that's kind of the thing, because while they are, you know, a bunch of supervillains trying to take out Spider-Man, they're not really working as a team. Doc Ock is basically using them as almost human shields in order to take out Spider-Man. However, the highlight of the episode is, you know, he tries to take on the Sinister Six in the beginning, but he barely makes it out alive, and then he goes home. Then he hears a news report about the Sinister Sixes in the city, and that they are terrorizing stuff, and they're calling for Spider-Man, and so he gets on his suit, and he goes out there, and he's very silent. And the funny thing is, I didn't even notice it when I watched it the first time. I didn't even notice how quiet he was until, you know, Doc Ock pointed it out.
I knew you were finally getting serious when you stopped cracking your pathetic little joke.
And I didn't really know what to make of it until the next morning, where Peter wakes up to find that the Sinister Six are in jail, and he has no memory of what happened. This time, Peter didn't wear the suit. The suit wore Peter. Ugh. And this is the first moment where we start to hear Peter's second voice. The more darker voice that is actually, that you'll find out in the later episodes, is actually the suit manipulating his actions. And it's just slightly off regular Peter's voice, but just enough that you can tell there's a bit of a change. Because it has a darker tone and doesn't really have any empathy towards anyone.
It's like I slept through the whole fight. This wasn't me wearing the suit. This was the suit wearing my body. This alien, it's some kind of symbiote. Still, what do we care? The Six were put down hard. Parker gets paid for the photos. What else matters?
So the episode ends with Peter starting to embrace the dark side and then finding out that his aunt is in the hospital. It jumbles supervillains, suits, and heart attacks. What more could you want?
Now then, Arachnid, any last words?
Humana comes to mind.
Number 35. The Man Who Stole Tomorrow, Kang the Conqueror, and the Kang Dynasty. From Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. This is one of those episodes that I was talking about in the beginning, how it's not technically a three-parter, but it's all one saga, the Kang invasion.
I am Kang, the Conqueror. I have come from the 41st century, traveling to this backwater time period for one simple reason. To eliminate you from the timeline.
One of the great things that Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes does is that it gives you villains that, unless you're a huge Marvel fan, you might not have heard about. Kang is an alien warlord from the future. However, his timeline is being wiped out. He doesn't know how or why. All he knows is that it leads right back to Captain America. And so his solution? Travel back in time and kill Captain America. Oh, and take over the world. Because, what else are you going to do?
I told you, Avengers, that I would save this world. Under my rule, Earth will be strong. It will survive the coming onslaught. I have been learning the strengths and weaknesses of your era's defenses. And now, the true conquest begins.
These episodes are great for Iron Man and Captain America, because Iron Man is a futurist, a guy who's always looking for the future and what he can make of it, where Captain America is a bit of a man trapped in the past. But what is a futurist compared to somebody who's actually from the future?
My armor protects me, you know. It would have taken you down before you even touched me. And if the suit I was wearing couldn't handle you, I've got 4 more that could.
You can't always count on your armor. You have to be ready for anything.
That's the whole point. I'm working to know exactly what's coming. I'll know exactly what to be ready for.
We see that Tony and Steve's, ideals contrast and conflict with one another because, Tony is a man of the future, and Steve's a man of the past, but compared to Kang, Tony is a man of the past. Let me just say this, Kang is a great villain for these bunch of episodes, because he's like one of those cheap villains, you know, like one of those boss battles in a video game that you're just like, come on, why will this guy die?
Your armor is amusing. Primitive, but amusing. Now, where were we?
I mean, throughout some of the fights, he's just sitting in his future chair and letting the chair do all the work. I wonder if it comes with a cup holder. The three-parter can basically be summed up like this. The first episode is Kang versus the Avengers. Second episode is the Avengers versus Kang's Space Armada fleet. And the third episode is where the Avengers take the fight to Kang on his ship.
You wish to fight me? Then so be it.
This show really excels at building up the fights till they get bigger and bigger and better. And the stakes keep getting higher and higher, and they lead into one another, and they just keep rising to a great climax. It's a great story about a man from the future trying to kill a man from the past, but has to deal with a futurist from the present. Yes. Oh, and in order to defeat Kang, one other thing happened in this episode, but I'm sure it'll have no big impact on the story whatsoever.
What are you doing? I'm teaching Ultron the concept of violence.
Programming accepted.
Number 34. The Laughing Fish from Batman the Animated Series. There are very few episodes of superhero animation that have as many laughs as this one does.
Dining in tonight, sir?
The dissection tray, please, Alfred.
And what I love the most about this episode is that the Joker's plan is so bizarre and out there that I don't even think he really thinks that it's going to work. I think he just wants an excuse to drive the city crazy. The scheme is that he's put this chemical off of the coast of Gotham's ocean that has made all this fish this weird Joker-like colors and have a smiling grin on their face. The confusing thing is that despite them looking really creepy, they're not toxic. They're completely safe to eat. The only difference is they have this pale skin and weird smile on their face. So what does the Joker do? Try to copyright them, of course. He goes to the copyright office and demands that he gets a percentage of all the money coming in that is being sold from his fish.
This has all been worked out far in advance, Francis. You are merely the last tiny cog in my grand design. So don't speak to me again, okay? Now, what is everyone in town talking about?
Your fish?
I told you not to speak!
The copy office guy tries to calmly explain why that's not really possible, and of course the Joker flips his lid, and he threatens to kill him if he doesn't get what he wants.
No one can copyright fish. They're a natural resource.
But they share my unique face. Colonel What's-His-Name has chickens, and they don't even have mustaches.
I can't help it. It's the law.
Oh, trying to cheat the Joker, are you?
I love this episode because this is just Joker and Harley Quinn at their finest. I mean, like, even though Harley Quinn was introduced in the episode A Joker's Favor, she didn't get a whole lot to do there, but here they really utilize Arlene Sorkin's voice to its most hilarious potential. As this is where we start to get the love-struck girl that's always tried to do everything for her puddin', even when it doesn't result in him treating her very nicely.
Yummy, yum, yum. Eat it.
Mr. J, I have this little problem with fish. Yum, yum, yum.
Yes, friends, that's Jokerfish.
But I also like how, even though it's just a silly, stupid scheme, the Joker basically gives everybody the runaround. Because his scheme doesn't follow any logic, so it's just like, what? Wait, what? What? Why? And so everyone is so confused, and he basically outsmarts them for most of the episode. And of course, the end of the episode, like any Batman episode about fish, has to end. He takes on a shark. What can I say? This is just an episode that utilizes Mark Hamill's Joker perfectly. They don't waste any time in making you laugh as hard as you can. There's certainly nothing fishy about this episode.
See, Batsy, I think of everything.
Number 33. Over the Edge from Batman the Animated Series. Over the Edge starts with probably the biggest smack to the balls you've ever had at the beginning of a superhero episode. It begins with the Gotham City Police Department raiding the Batcave trying to get and kill Batman. And you feel like that guy that's just walked into a house party as soon as a fight breaks in, and you're like, is this about time?
Oh, no, Wayne. No vanishing act this time.
No!
Alfred. Keep going, sir. Keep going.
I mean, sheesh, but that's just the first part. And next you see, oh yeah, in the fight with the Scarecrow, Batgirl died. Yeah, she fell right off the roof of the building onto her father's car, and he reveals her identity, seeing that his daughter has been killed and that his best friend Batman didn't let him know that she was Batgirl all this time. Talk about an awkward conversation.
How could you? I worked with you, trusted you, and you never told me? She was my daughter. My daughter.
That's as far as you go, murderer.
I love this episode because the Batman-Gordon friendship is one of the cornerstones of all of Batman comic books. I mean, you look at stories like Year One, and it clearly shows how Batman and Gordon are not at their fullest unless they're working together. And to see them go at odds at each other like this in a way that's totally believable and totally relatable, it's really entertaining to watch.
Like a fool, I allowed you to run wild on your private crusade. A psychotic misfit playing masked hero. Now I've paid for it with Barbara's life.
Jim, believe me.
I know how you feel. You can't.
And it's an episode that really keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time. The only reason it's not higher on this list is honestly the ending is a little bit of a, and whoop, wrap it up. A little bit of a cliche, a little bit of a not as satisfying ending, but the rest of the episode, it totally makes up for all those shortcomings that the ending has. Like, as I say, the episode starts with such force that your mind just goes to, well, obviously it's not real. But to see one of comic books' most important friendships at such odds with each other, it really makes it for a fun episode to watch.
There's no place to run, Wayne.
Good. I want to finish him slowly.
I want him alive. Alive to rot away in Arkham, surrounded by the monsters he's created.
Number 32. Homecoming from Green Lantern, the Animated Series. This is the finale of the first season of Green Lantern, and it starts out with everything being thrown down the crapper. The Red Lanterns have blown a hole through the asteroid field, allowing them to move their fleet from the Forgotten Zone. Atrocitus has hacked Aya and taken control of the Interceptor and is driving it straight for Oa to kill the Guardians, with our heroes stranded in the middle of nowhere with the Red Lantern fleet closing in. It's a great episode because it takes all the elements that we've seen through the previous seasons and just puts them all in at once.
Thanks to us, the Red Lantern fleet will have no trouble pouring into Guardian space, and we're stuck here while Atrocitus flies the Interceptor to Oa and exterminates the Guardians.
My plan won't help us beat them to Oa, but maybe, just maybe, we can get to the same galactic neighborhood.
And it throws some curveballs that you weren't expecting. Like, for how the last we see of Hal Jordan, he says, I got a plan, then all of a sudden, whoop, he's on Earth, and the only thing he wants to do is take Carol out for dinner. I remember when I first watched it, I'm like, wait, what? Did I accidentally skip to the next episode? What happened here?
Look, Carol, all I know is I was far from you and needed to find you. And now we're together. Everything's going to be okay.
But what happened out there? Frontier space, the Red Armada.
What?
The Red Lantern Army, were they stopped? What about your friends out there, the other Green Lanterns?
What's a Green Lantern?
In the meantime, while he's making kissy faces at Carol and is trying to figure out what he even is, Atrocitus is breaking down the doors of Oa, trying to kill the Guardians. And they just keep getting closer and closer to taking their revenge on the Guardians for creating the Manhunters that destroyed their entire sector many years ago.
To rendezvous with our core in sector...
Hello, Guardians.
Atrocitus! Fall back! Fall back!
But in the meantime, Kilowog has to take on the entire Red Lantern Armada by himself. That is until he gets back up from the first Blue Lantern and their newest recruit, Mogo.
I am Saint Walker, and I believe I am the first Blue Lantern in the universe.
Thanks for the power boost. One extra soldier ain't exactly gonna turn the tide.
I agree. That's why I brought a friend.
I am honored to help Green Lantern Kilowog.
Now that's more like it.
But even that doesn't fully even the odds, because there is something that the Red Lantern fleet has that kind of puts things in an even more intense situation.
What are they? Liberators. Planet killers.
Yeah, planet-killing missiles. And we've seen them in the first episode of the season actually destroy a planet. So the tensions feel real, like, oh crap, these are some serious things. Well, this culminates in the final battle between Hal Jordan versus Atrocitus, and it's really, really great. It was a great episode from a show that was canceled well before it should have been. Thanks, Green Lantern movie, for sucking. If you were good, this would have gone on for a few more seasons. In any case, beware the power of this Green Lantern's light.
In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light.
We are the cartoon heroes.
Number 31.
We are the ones who gonna last forever.
Breakout from Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. When I first saw the trailers for Earth's Mightiest Heroes, I gotta say, I wasn't all that impressed. I mean, from all accounts, this animation looked kind of similar to Brave and the Bold. I thought it was going to be a little kiddie. It didn't look like it was something that I was going to be interested in. I mostly just didn't think it would take itself seriously, and I like shows that can do that. And thankfully, it didn't take me more than a couple episodes for me to see this show actually has some good things going on. This is a great first episode. It sets up the world, all the different characters, and what's more, they were set up even before this episode, because while this technically is kind of like the premiere, they had a few episodes before this one happened that were just individual episodes following the individual characters on their own. And now this is where we see them all go together to form the Avengers. The makers of the show wanted to come out swinging and not only give the Avengers a viable reason for existing, but also give you the biggest slugfest you could ask for. Because in the two-parter, something happens to unlock all the prisons in all the world. At least all the major ones.
Boom.
Every major prison has its doors unlocked and the criminals run rampant. And one of the criminals that is set free is called Graviton, a man with the power over gravity itself.
What do you want, Hall?
Oh, I think you know. I want to treat you with the same kindness that you've shown me. I'm going to take years off of your life! On second thought, I'll take it.
And it's just such a great fight. And the thing I like about it is every Avenger has to be used in order to defeat this guy. You know, it's not just Thor or Hulk or Iron Man that is needed to defeat it. Every single one of them is needed in order to defeat him. Even Ant-Man and Wasp. It's honestly just one of the best slugfests you will ever see. And not only that, it really sets up everything else that happens in the show. Because with all these criminals running loose, it just makes so much sense for the Avengers to become a thing. It's less than, well, this is either a one-time invasion or this one-time thing. It's no, all the criminals are set loose upon the world. Let's be a team and go hunt them down.
One-on-one, we can each take down a villain or two, but 74, none of us can do it alone. Together, we have a chance. What we did here, it can change things. The world needs us, but not as SHIELD agents. As a team, on our own. Together, we can avenge the wrongs caused by all these villains.
We can be Avengers.
Good name.
It's a great introduction for a team of superheroes doing everything they can against a powerful threat. Avengers, assemble.
No. The power I wield, You are nothing compared to me! I'm stronger than all of you! I'm the strongest one there is!
You sure about that?